Well, of course, one factor moving the market is the housing space. Fresh data on the housing market will be coming out over the next 24 hours, including new insights into homebuilder confidence. That's set for 10 a.m. Eastern. Joining me now with more is Katie Hubbard, Executive Vice President of Capital Markets at Walton Global. Katie, great to have you joining us from Denver this morning. And as this market opens, what do we need to know about the housing space?
Kristen, thanks so much for having me. It's good to be here. Well, home builder sentiment is definitely remaining subdued. Right now, it's about 40, where neutral is 50, and that's really driven by elevated mortgage rates. We're coming in this morning, they're at 6.91%, and that is keeping people on the sidelines. And so home builders are having to slash home prices in order to get that unit count going, slashing up to $100,000 per house in some communities.
In terms of spring sales, we know this is typically the so-called spring buying season or selling season, however you want to frame it. Katie, are you seeing usual activity on that front?
Definitely not usual activity. Historically, home builders are selling 37% of their annual sales in February through May, and spring selling season has definitely been a miss this year because of mortgage rates and people are just the economic uncertainty.
Now, in terms of incentives, has that changed at all for people who are on the sidelines considering entering the market?
Well, home builders are definitely doing what they can to keep the unit count going, where 30% have dropped prices, sometimes, slashing the house price. They're offering incentives. They're still buying down mortgage rates. And in some cases, they're even selling houses at a 0% margin, which can sound alarming. They're starting to see a little bit of margin creep up in those cases, and new communities have seen good margins. You're up into the 30% on new communities for some homes.
It's interesting because rates obviously are something that we talk a lot about here at the stock exchange. They do impact the bond market, they impact the stock market, and they very much impact the housing market as well when it comes to mortgage rates. How have those impacted the activity that you've shared?
Yeah, mortgage rates being elevated, coming in, close to 7%, are keeping people on the sidelines. 80% of people with a mortgage today are still locked in at sub 4%. So for somebody to go out and want to get a new mortgage, they're really forced to go to the new home communities where a home builder will buy down the mortgage rates versus going and purchasing a resale home. So it's definitely affecting the market dramatically.
And what does this mean for the outlook?
Well, you can see, it's definitely affected the public home builder stock prices, where the top home builders on average are down about 25% in the last 6 months. The outlook, though, is really positive because the fundamentals of housing remain strong, where we're still short 2 to 4 million homes. People still want to own homes. We just really need inflation to come down to bring down the 10-year, which will bring down the 30-year fix and pull people off the sideline. So the outlook is positive. It's just in the short term, they're having to manage week by week and month by month. Also, home builders are moving to land light strategies, and that's where Walton comes in, where we're providing land light options for them to keep land off of their balance sheet so that they can control land that they want to build on in the future, but they don't have to spend billions of dollars outright in cash so that they can manage those margins effectively. For smaller home builders, I would say they're going to struggle because they don't have the ability to accept that margin compression, to offer the incentives, and they can't compete with the public home builders on the land prices.
It is interesting, Katie, to hear more about what exactly your firm does, Walton Global. While we're here, I do want to talk about tariffs because, of course, April was the peak of tariffs in terms of the impact, at least on the stock market, and really showing up in some of the data that we've been getting this week in terms of consumer buying for retail sales and inflation as well. What has been the tariff impact when it comes to supplies that go into building these homes?
Yeah, so our builder clients have reported about a 2 to 4% increase in the cost of the home building goods that go into the homes. Unfortunately, they can't pass that cost on to the home buyer. They're having to absorb that into their margins just because people are so sensitive to the home price with elevated mortgage rates. So across the board, they're seeing some temporary relief. Now that we've had a pause on tariffs, they're able to stabilize their construction costs while managing that 2 to 4% increase in the near term.
Interesting. How do you foresee that changing going forward?
Well, I mean, they're definitely going to be managing to labor shortages, land shortages, land cost increases. So hopefully, the tariffs continue to stabilize and they're able to manage that. They're also really looking to engineer houses differently, trying to adjust the product type. I mean, I'm not sure if you've heard of boxable. It's basically like a house that you can unpack. So there's engineering that's coming that's making housing more affordable to build. And so they are working on that in the near term as well.
I want to hear more about what you're seeing at Walton Global, just in terms of the differential, Katie, between land and the physical properties. Is there any more you can share there?
Yeah, I mean, we're being contacted by not only the top public builders, but other builder clients who are looking for land solutions. Builders are really having to go out further away from the core to build what they're calling not affordable homes, but attainable housing. But then you have to have things like entitlements, which is you have the legal right to build on that land. You need the utilities, the water, the electricity. So there's a lot that goes into building farther from the urban core in order to build affordable houses. And so we're doing what we can to work with them in markets to help with deregulation, increase densities, and improve the permitting process so that the builders can build homes faster at a more affordable pace.
Katie Hubbard, Executive Vice President of Capital Markets at Walton Global. Katie, thank you.
Thanks for having me.